Hey, my friends, welcome to the Dallas Daily Show. One of my favorite times of week, the Midweek MindSHIFT episode. Today, we are talking about the personal transformation formula, and we're coming at you from the Neighborhood Loan Studio here in St. Louis, Missouri. So let's go ahead and get on into it. I don't know why the way I said it, let's get on into it. I don't know why that made me laugh. It's the way it did, but for some reason that was incredibly funny to me. Taylor, we gonna get on into it. You ready for us to get on into it? All right. So today, guys, we're going to talk about this knowledge or this personal transformation formula, because I think especially for people who tend to be chronic quitters. I don't know. Let's define what that is here for just a second. If you're someone who has stopped and started and stopped and started and stopped and started and stopped, I guess I should say, if you're one of those people who has started and stopped and started and stopped, and you've tried the thing and you've fallen off the wagon, right? You got on the diet and you fell off, right? You did that and you've done it over and over and over again, then you could be a chronic quitter, right? And there is no shame in the game. A lot of people are. I mean, there's a whole reason why the cliche around New Year's resolutions exists, is because chronic quitting is a thing, because we don't actually lock in the transformation. What we do is we lock in an external action. So today we're going to talk about how to actually make personal transformation stick for us. And I'm really excited about what that conversation is going to look like. And again, if you've been privy to the MindSHIFT episodes at all, you know we take this idea, this concept of mindset to a slightly different place. So we always put the framework of the MindSHIFT not from who you are currently and trying to change your mindset, but instead we create this future version of you in your thoughts, in your imagination, in your visualization, in your emotions. Like, who do you want to be? Who is it that you want to be in the next 1 year, 3 year, 5, 10 years from now? This heroic version of you that when you think about your future, you get really excited about it. And you're like, yeah, that's what I want it to look like. I want that health. I want that wealth. I want that relationship. Oh, I want that kind of time. I want that sort of creativity. I want to be the grandpa who's the most active grandpa on the block. That when people look at you, they think you're taking all kinds of like, wow, is he drinking from the fountain of youth? Yeah, that's what we want. So when we think of this future version of you and it gets you excited, we then have to start to ask, how does future you think? How does future you believe? How does future you act? How does future you respond when there's emotional crisis and all of this stuff? And so we then ask ourselves, and here's where the mind shift happens. Mindset says, I'm going to try and change the way I'm thinking now in the present because I'm not happy with the results. And mind shift says, I'm actually going to change my choices in the present because I'm going to begin to behave and believe like this person I want to become. And so we download, the good way to say it is we download the new operating system of who we want to be into our present reality. And when we do that, we put ourselves on a trajectory of success and growth and transformation. So when we think about this transformation formula, I want you to put it in the framework of it's based upon who you want to be and the operating system that they are begging you to adopt, who they're going to beg you to become, because their future existence depends on who you become in this moment. So I really want to encourage you with that. You can become who you want to be, and they're waiting for you to be that person. So back it up here. Let's talk about this personal transformation formula, especially if you have struggled over the years, whether it's the past year or 5 years or 10 years, or if you've struggled for decades with, I start and I stop, I start and I stop, I start and I stop. I am a chronic quitter, right? Or, my wife used to jokingly call me Mr. Extreme because I'd go 110% into something and then I'd crash out. And then it was like, pick myself back up. Crap, I fell off again. All right, go back into it 110%, crap out, right? So it was one of those like, okay, chronic quitter, but also people would be like, yeah, but you're also a chronic restarter. Okay, that may be true. But what would happen if I quit hitting the stop and start, stop and start, stop and start, stop and start? If I actually started to, over time with consistency, apply the right amount of pressure to increase my acceleration of my transformation. That's what we're going to talk about today. So there's this great scientific law called the law of acceleration. And when I discovered this, and I think I've talked about it before, at least if I haven't talked about it in the MindSHIFT episodes, I've definitely brought it up at some point in the podcast on the Dallas Daily Show. This idea of the law of acceleration. So the law of acceleration is simply this, and it's a Newtonian law, is for those of you watching the video, I'm making a big like spaced out thing with my hands. For those of you listening, it's basically you have this mass, and this mass, depending on the size of the mass, it's your force on the mass. And if you want to pick up acceleration on something, there's two things you have to do. Number one, you have to deal with the size of the mass, and you have to deal with the consistency of the force. So a decrease in mass and an increase in consistency and force over time will build acceleration. All right, so if I have this 50-pound ball and I go and I push on it once and I get a little bit of a shove, right? Or let's say like Atlas, right? Atlas or Sisyphus. It was Sisyphus. Sorry. Sometimes you got to get your Greek references correct. So Sisyphus was the one who rolled the rock up the hill every day, and then it would roll down, and then he'd roll it back up. And he was like, quote, cursed by the gods to roll this rock up. I think that's how too many of us think about weight loss, health, money, our relationship problems, right? Our work problems. It's like, I gotta, like Sisyphus, I gotta roll this huge rock and it just keeps rolling down. And then the next day I gotta roll it and it rolls back down. We're not getting any acceleration on that. Instead, what we're doing, the gravitational force just keeps pulling us back down. Sounds like chronic quitting, sounds like old habits. And no matter how much willpower you have, that's going to be a struggle for you. But this law of acceleration says if you can decrease the mass and you can increase the consistency of force, you will build acceleration. So if instead of this big 50-pound ball that maybe I push once, and then I stop, and I breathe a little bit, and then I push again, and I stop, and I breathe a little bit, and then, and I only come and I push on it once a week, twice a week, how much acceleration am I going to get? Hardly any, right? But if somehow that 50-pound ball, I can start to give it more consistent pressure, or God forbid, I actually start to decrease the size of the ball, and I start putting the same amount of pressure on a 10-pound ball consistently, then it starts to build up acceleration over time. Hope that's making sense to you, because the law of acceleration, it's this really cool thing, because in my life, there were certain parts of what I was doing that I was giving myself just a little bit of effort inconsistently to this big, massive old mindset that I had. And I was so surprised when I wasn't getting the breakthroughs that I wanted. Then I changed and I started getting a mind shift and going, wait a second, those things that I once viewed as these big barriers, they're not as big as I thought. That ball is smaller all of a sudden. That big stone is not as big as I thought. And I actually know how I can move it with consistency over time. And when I did that, all of a sudden, gang, it was like, and I explained this to my coach a couple of months ago, my own personal mind shift coach. I explained it to her and I said, it was like it took me years to go yards, but now I've gone miles within months because I've adopted consistency, and now that consistent push with a lesser view of some of those blockages I've had and some of those old mindset blocks, right? All of a sudden, I've got massive acceleration happening in so many areas of my life. And there's kind of a formula to this personal transformation that's going to allow you to build that consistency and that speed and that acceleration as you become this future version of you. And we're going to talk about that in just a minute. But first, let's talk about our sponsors. If you are a business professional and you're looking to lose 25 to 50 pounds of that stubborn belly fat over the next 90 days, I want to tell you about one of the programs from our sponsors, the Shed Fat Fast program with Joel Staley. Joel has helped over 1,500 clients lose all of that fat, get in the best shape of their life, and he does it with a proprietary fasting protocol that's guaranteed to get you results without giving up the food that you love. I know it works because I'm in the program right now, and I'm telling you, this thing is getting me results. I know it can get you results as well. He's got a free training for you. Go to shedfatfast.com. That's shedfatfast.com. Check out his free training. And when you call in, be sure and mention that you heard about it from the Dallas Daily Show. Hey, everybody. I just want to give a quick shout out to our studio sponsor here at Neighborhood Loans Studio in St. Louis, Missouri. If you're in the market for a new home, look no further. Their 5-star team is excellent. They can help you get what you need. And I can personally connect you with their team, or you can check out their website, neighborhoodloans.com. Again, that's neighborhoodloans.com, or feel free to call them 314-658-9400. Again, that's 314-658-9400. And even though the studio's located here in St. Louis, Missouri, they can service you nationwide. So trust me when I say you are in the best hands with Neighborhood Loans. Okay, so this idea of this law of acceleration is basically like decrease the mass of the problem thinking that you have, decrease the size of the stone inside of your brain about that problem that you've struggled with for so long, and instead of thinking it as this monolithic Sisyphus-style stone you've got to roll up and you're exhausted by the idea of picking it up again, instead, you start to go, nah, you know what? That's not that big of a deal. And you begin to change your perspective on it, and then you begin to put consistency on it. Now, when it comes to the transformation you want, here's what it is. It is a simple 3-part formula. Are you ready? It's knowledge plus execution plus, my favorite part, accountability. Knowledge plus execution plus accountability. When you put those 3 things in place, you're going to have personal transformation. And the thing that once was hindering you for so much, for so long, is now going to be accelerating out of your life as you accelerate toward who you are becoming. So the problem with personal discipline is always we try too hard from our current mindset to willpower the issue away. And that's not what the case is. Instead, we're going to accelerate toward who you're becoming. So we're going to leave big Sisyphus rock alone, and we're going to focus on this new target of who you're becoming. And instead, you're going to begin to apply focus and apply consistent force toward this new identity. Yeah, all right, I can move this guy a little bit more because I've got the visualization and the emotionalizing of him. I'm vocalizing this person of who I want to become every day. I'm trying them out. Boom, 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 boom. And then all of a sudden, you are building up that momentum and that acceleration in your life. And it starts with knowledge. Knowledge is 2 parts, the why and the when. Knowledge is the why and the when. You want to know why it's important for you to leave behind Sisyphus rock, and instead, why is it important for you to become this new version of you? That's so key. Why are you going toward this version? We talk about this in the Future You 5-day challenge that we run. In that version of you, why must you become this person? Because your family's depending on it, your spouse, your kids, because other people are depending upon it, because you have a God-given call to make an impact on the world. I don't know what it is, but there is a why that you should be so driven to become this new version of you. So why is it important for you to become that version? And the when is, what does it look like? It's the 5 steps of the future you. Visualize, right? The 5 steps of the mind shift, future you. You guys have seen this. It's the visualize, emotionalize, vocalize, internalize, actualize. Boom, boom, boom. If you need that, by the way, show notes below. You can listen and watch that entire Mind Shift series. But the knowledge of the why, it's important. And the when, what does it actually look like for you? Oh, that's going to put your focus on the right rock. It's going to put your focus on the right thing that you can begin to consistently apply the pressure, consistently apply the momentum to get the acceleration. Now, there are some steps of what we have to do. So the knowledge is understanding the why and the when, right? The execution is the what we have to do. The why, the when, and now the what. Oh, guess what? There's 5 W's in this, Taylor. I'm going to go ahead and foreshadow it for you guys right now. This is the 5 W's. All right. So Taylor's like smiling off camera. By the way, for those of you who don't know, Taylor, turn it on. Taylor now has a microphone. Taylor, say hello.
Hello.
I've been playing with that all week on the episodes. I've been like, Taylor, talk, say something. Maybe today we're going to have you say, have a championship day. Does that sound good? All right, cool. Great. So be ready for that in 5 more minutes. So the knowledge is the why and the when. The execution is what comes next. Because unless we begin to act out this new version of ourselves, unless we begin to apply force to the new source, we'll never pick up acceleration on who we're becoming. And that's the idea here, is we actually have to say, what is it I must do? It's really great. It's really great to just think and think and think about how great your life could be. But unless you actually put action in place, gang, it ain't going to happen. So there are things we have to do to get results. Like one of our sponsors for this show, the Joel Staley program, Shed Fat Fast. You guys have got the link down there below. It is a program about long-term fasting. I am currently actively doing it. I'm down another 16 pounds. It's great, but it takes some effort, which is mainly go hungry a lot and continue to work out even when you're hungry. That's the stay hydrated, stay hungry, stay exercising. You'll be amazed at how quickly you can drop 25 to 50 pounds, right? So that is the idea. There is still what you have to do. You still have to apply some consistent pressure. All right, so we have knowledge plus execution. We have the when. We have the why. We have the when. Now we have the what. What's the thing that I need to do consistently? All right. And then we're going to add the third piece to it, which is simply accountability. Knowledge plus execution plus accountability. If you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go far, you go together. It's very important that you have a tribe and a community or a coach or a consultant, that you have someone that you can be accountable to for all of this what that you're doing, all of this execution that you're doing. So the knowledge gives you the why it's important and the when to define it. The execution, you go, here's my actual action plan. Boom, 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 the what I have to do to start making it happen. The accountability is the who and it's the when. And that's 2 of the most important parts. Who will you choose to be in your corner? Because I guarantee you, old you is going to get you to try and fall back into old beliefs, old triggers, old behaviors, old mindsets. And what's going to happen is you'd rather go back and inconsistently push the big Sisyphus stone rather than turn and consistently apply pressure to the new way, because the new way is weird and it's different and it's awkward. And what if I do it wrong? And I don't feel like it today. And there's going to be all of these things in your transformation process that are going to feel foreign and uncomfortable. And unless you have the right who in place, someone who has done it, someone who is a cheerleader, someone who you respect, someone who you trust, someone that can actually coach you through the process and say, hey man, this is where you're getting it a little bit wrong. Apply a little more pressure here. Have you thought about trying this? What about this? They're going to help you push that new stone in every way possible. And it's someone that you don't want to disappoint. And so you go, no, I'm willing to actually make you my who. And then the most important part of that execution and accountability plan is the when. When are you going to start? How often are you going to get going on it? Is this a daily thing? Is it a weekly thing? Do you need consistency every morning? Like, do you need a morning routine put in place? Do you need someone to watch you as you do your budgeting because you've been in debt for so long? Do you need someone that you can talk to about your relationship with your spouse because you guys have been tearing each other apart for so long? It's not just health, right? It's relationships. It's business, right? Do you need a mentor in your business that can help you get to the next level? I don't know what it is for you, but I do know this. There is a who can help. And they're going to put a when in place with you. And then you have to simply commit to them on that timeline to add the execution, the what that you're going to do on a consistent basis, driving toward your why, driving toward your win. I'm afraid I'm getting too complex in all of this. So let me just say it again. If you want personal transformation, quit pushing on the big thing inconsistently and instead focus on the new you, the future you that you're becoming, and say, all right, in order to do that, I have to start moving this personal transformation in that direction. I have to get the download of who that is and how they behave, and now I got to start working that behavior into my daily life. So I need the knowledge. Why is it important? What's the win look like? I need the execution. What am I going to do on a day in, day out basis to become that person? And then I need the accountability. Who's going to cheerlead me on? Who's going to coach me on? Who's the community that's going to lift me up when I feel like falling back into the old me? And when am I going to get the ball rolling? And over time, if you decrease the size of the old thinking, decrease that to the new you, and start putting consistent pressure on it, my friend, you are going to accelerate toward this new version of yourself, toward this upgraded version of yourself, and you're going to blow it up. I guarantee it. So, who's your accountability? Who's your coach? Who's the person that you need help with? I'm happy to help you. I'm happy to introduce you to the Future You 5-Day. Heck, I'm happy to introduce you. If I'm not the right coach for you, I'll introduce you to anyone I know who is. Because ultimately, what I want, I'm going to look at camera 2 and I'm going to say this. Ultimately, what I want is I want your transformation. My God, I was way too long in all the old thinking. I was way too long in all the old Sisyphus style of trying to build my own business, of trying to get my health up and down, over and over again. Trying to work through my depression, trying to work through my anxiety, trying to work through the fact that I almost destroyed my marriage because of my own personal implosions. Way too long in that. And I needed a couple of who's, a couple of cheerleaders who were going to bring me to the next level and show me the capacity of who I could be. And that's the question I have for you. Who are your who's? Let's define your win. Let's define your when. Let's define your what. Let's define your why. But let's get those who's in place because they're going to see the version of you that you want to be. And they're not going to fall into the patterns of the old you, but instead they're going to cheer and champion you on to the future you. And that's how you have a mind shift, my friend. That's all I got for you today. Again, we got the whole Mind Shift series below for you. I encourage you to give those a listen if you want. Join the Future You 5-Day Challenge. We're getting ready to do another one of those, I think just in a few weeks. So join the Future You 5-Day. That's at futureyou5day.com. And you can join that. And we'd love to have you in there. It's 5 days to design this vision of who you want to be and to figure out all of your old typical triggers and then how to adapt beyond those so you quit pushing the Sisyphus rock and start moving, accelerating toward this person you want to become. So that's it. That's all we got for you today. I'm going to hand it over to Taylor to say the thing I love to say, but we're going to leave it for her. Taylor, with all the chutzpah you got, what is it?
Have a championship day.
That's it, my friends. Have a championship day.
Thanks for listening to my dad's podcast. For more tools, go to DallasDailyShow.com. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Thank you.